Hello and welcome to our channel, MarStream, your public performance broadcast platform. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. You can also donate to our tip jar and support the arts and artist of MarStream by clicking the link below in the description. Check out our website, themarsh.org, for all upcoming live performances. Now, enjoy the show.
Good evening, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be back here with you again. And I think we have a really special night for you tonight. From what I've seen, this should be very enjoyable, but I do have to start it off with a sad note. Our producer, talent recruiter, former solo ARTS HEAL star himself, John Ivory, very sadly lost his mum earlier in the week. And so our hearts really go out to him. We miss him. And John, if you're watching, we send you all our love, and you're with us in spirit. We've managed just fine without you, but we still want you to come back. And really all our thoughts are with you. And from there, I think we will raise the tone tonight. I know we will raise the tone. Many years ago, I got involved with a website, patient support website called Inspire. And I had the very good fortune to strike up a relationship with their PR director, communications director, John Novak. And when John knew that we were running this monthly performance and we were seeking talent, and we're still seeking talent, so please reach out to us, he said to me, I have somebody for you. And that somebody was Michael Bihovsky, who is with us tonight. And I hope I'm saying his name right, because I don't have John Ivory here to correct my English into American English. But we are so thrilled and so delighted to have Michael with us, and deeply ingratiated to John for making the introduction. And I think Michael goes back almost as long as I do with John, although we never met each other until recently. I think I met John in 2010, and I think Michael met him around 2014. So it's still an awful long time. It's really a great pleasure and a great honor to welcome Michael, and thank you so much for taking the time to do this show with us. Michael is he's very unique in what he does. He integrates music and musical performance into patient advocacy. And I don't know that there's anybody anywhere else that I've ever met who actually does that other than you. Have you ever met anybody else, Michael, like who can do that or who does that?
I mean, there are some incredible medical advocacy shows out there, Rent next to Normal, but I think probably I'm the one who's just kind of doing it over and over again in different ways.
We love it. So just tell us very briefly what condition you live with and what that condition means for you.
Sure. So first off, just thank you so much, and thank you for having me. It's a true honor to be here. And I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a genetic connective tissue disorder. It manifests very differently for different people. So the way that it manifests for me, connective tissue, when you think of connective tissue, you're really talking primarily about ligaments and tendons. So my ligaments and tendons will tear or they will stretch. They're sort of like those rubber bands that are very old and they kind of start to snap a little easier than they should. Tendons and ligaments, kind of important actually, it turns out, and they hold your joints in. So what I have is a lot of joints that will slip out, sometimes dislocate, more often subluxate, which means they pop out and come back in. And the result is, as if you've seen Lethal Weapon, you know that's rather painful. So I have a lot of chronic pain that I deal with, and a lot of injuries. And yeah, it's been a struggle to continue doing what I love, but I don't really know how to do or want to do anything else. So I keep going.
Well, you have a very, very interesting educational background. I would dare to say there's nobody else who has graduated not just from NYU, but anywhere in the world with the combination of subjects that you came out there with. Should I tell them or should you tell them? Tell the audience.
Yeah, how are we going to break the news? My official concentration at NYU's Gallatin School of Individualized Study, which I adored, was musical theater, astrophysics, and mythology. Because obviously, I don't have to, I'm sure half of you majored in that as well. But yeah, I very much, as a kid, my dad's a scientist, my mom's a writer, most of my dad's family are scientists, most of my mom's family are artists, and I was always very much drawn to both. And with musical theater and astrophysics particularly, I wanted to kind of prove two things. One, that like, I really do think science and art are flip sides of the same coin. I think they're both expressions of creativity ultimately. And I also wanted to prove that I should not be trusted to design my own major. And I think I did that.
Well, I looked at this and I thought there's sort of a sequence here. You start off in musical theater and that tells a story. So that leads into mythology. And when you get into mythology and into the space and the gods, that leads into astrophysics.
I'm glad you agree with me, because it took me, I had to convince a panel of 4 experts in that field in my colloquium that exactly what you just said. Yes, I really do believe they're interconnected. To me, actually, the unifier was, for me, I've been, since I was 4 years old, fascinated by the concept of infinity specifically. Yes. And it manifests in so many different ways. In religion and spirituality, I think God is a representation of the infinite and an attempt to understand the infinite. In the arts, it's a matter of, how do we build our legacy? How do we make something that's going to live on after we're gone? And in the sciences, just literally the concept of infinite space, infinite time. Einstein would say those are the same thing. And we'll get into that another time.
Good. Thank you for that. I appreciate you changing, you switching gears there. Now, I'd love for you to introduce the first video, Paperweight, that you're going to show to us, which is a recent single, I believe part of an album that you released last year, the year before.
I actually just released it on June 1st of this.
Okay.
It is it exists on iTunes and Spotify as an album, but that's it's mostly really a single. I just also included the instrumental version and a version with backup vocals for people to sing along to if they want to. So yeah, Paperweight is my newest release, except for the last video that I will be showing tonight, which anyone watching this, literally, you will be the first people to see it. So this video and song is called Paperweight. It's actually being screened, possibly as we speak, at the Action on Film Megafest Film Festival in Las Vegas. And it is a music video that I wrote and directed about what the pandemic has felt like for me through the lens of disability. And also about trying to find and hold on to romantic connection during the age of social distancing. So this is Paperweight.
Walk with me, my love, beside a stream I've known for ages. It flows the way it always has. It's we who seem to change. Walk with me, my friend, beyond the trees, beyond this bitter rain. But if we two could touch, would you still want to? You're as fragile as me now. When ghosts are made of glass, so what will it be now? If a moment wasn't meant to last, is disease the wall that keeps you 6 feet from my heart? Or is it something more? We used to be something more. Time has always flown, but we have never seen it frozen. It's passing as it's stolen by the stream we dream behind. And when we reach the other side, still paperweight, still petrified, will I remain alone and still infected? Time and time again I've said I've known you for forever. Forever's not that long for those who hide themselves away. But if we can be strong, we might just find our way together. And then I'd find the words to make you stay. Oh, I hope you can see now. The dark will turn to day if you hold on to me now. You might not ever slip away. The virus takes its hold, and those who live might not survive. We're still playing with our lives. If you kiss me, I die. Time has always flown, but we have never seen it frozen. It's passing as it's stolen by the stream we dream behind. And when we reach the other side, still paperweight, still petrified, will I remain alone and still infected? There's nothing left to lose, but somehow more can still be taken. I'm scared that when I awaken, you'll be lost and then you'll hide. And when we reach the other side, still paperweight, still petrified, will I remain alone and still infected? To reach, to want, to yearn. But when the world returns, I alone remain infected.
Wow. You know, as I was watching, I was thinking, how many songs have I actually heard? Not that I listen to a lot of recent music, but how many songs have I heard about COVID? That there aren't that many so far. How has it been received?
It's been incredibly gratifying. I mean, what I really wanted to tell, I mean, not just to write a song about COVID and to do something topical and hopefully cathartic like that, which I hope will mean something to everyone. There are a few out there. Taylor Swift in particular actually wrote a song called Epiphany that is just heartbreaking on the topic of COVID. But also to tell the story of the disabled community, or at least my experience of it, and trust that would ring true for other people. When this happened, it struck me at the time that pretty much everyone in the world was going through an experience that was very similar to an experience that a lot of us were already familiar with, which was to be stuck at home, to be scared of our own fragility, to have no idea what the future would look like, or if any of the things we planned would come to fruition. And I didn't really want to talk about that at the time as like, hey, I didn't want to divert attention and say, hey, look at me and look at my issues, because everyone is hurting through this. But it did strike me that one day I hoped that would be a useful reference point for people to understand the type of struggles that so many of us with chronic illnesses go through.
And when we watched this video, I couldn't help but notice that you were wearing braces. And maybe later on, we'll talk a little bit about how ALS gets in the way of your career, which it just has to. EDS has to get in the way. But that said, tell us about these braces and why you needed them.
Yeah, sure. So wearing the braces in this video was a very big decision for me to make. It's the first time that I've publicly worn braces in a film production that's available out there, and I was examining myself because I wear those all the time. If I'm often even just to socialize. These days, thankfully, my shoulders are doing all right, but I probably, in a day or two, I'll need to throw that shoulder brace on. The wrist braces are really the only way I can play piano for more than, a little while at a time. But it struck me, I was examining myself and why I hadn't worn them. And it was because I did not want people to pity me. I didn't want to come off as weak. All of these stigmas that I detest and don't agree with, and I wanted to practice what I preach. And there's an interesting concept in sociology that we define disability, not define, but we understand disability based on the tools used to overcome it. So we see someone in a wheelchair and we understand, oh, that person can't walk. We see someone with an oxygen tank. We know that they need help breathing. So I wanted to make sure that people would see that video and know that it was about chronic illness and disability. And I'd love to show you. I have a video that I took on location where I give a little walking tour of my various braces.
Please. Oh, we'd love to see it.
So let me pull that up. And yeah, this is available up on my Facebook and Instagram pages as well.
Hey everybody, Michael Bihovsky here on the set of Paperweight. I want to thank you so much for watching. One of the reasons I made this song is as a disability advocacy piece for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which I have. It's a connective tissue disorder. I wanted to just show you some of the things I'm wearing here. These are wrist braces that keep my TFCC cartilage from re-tearing. Over here I've got this really awesome shoulder brace that keeps my shoulder elevated. If it sags too much, it can dislocate. And some kinesio tape on the back of my neck and lidocaine on the shoulder. So I'm just living my best life. I'm trying to. We're having a fun time out here. Thank you again. I really hope you like the video.
I hope we can talk a little bit more about that later on in the show, but we right now I want to move on. Sure. Because I've actually called a couple of people to especially watch this next video, which I'd like you to introduce, including my sister and including a very good friend in here in Tubac, because they're going to find it very, very interesting. Tell us what we're going to see next, or the next couple of videos.
Sure. So yeah, this next video is this is probably my best known. It's called One Grain More, and it's a parody of the musical Les Miserables. I like to say that pretentiously, excuse me. And it's a parody of Les Mis that is about having food allergies, because of course those two things go together. I mean, you heard my college major. Comedy is one of my favorite methods for talking about health issues, because essentially you're taking problems that usually cause people nothing but hardship, and you're giving those same people a chance to laugh about it and to be on the inside of the joke, which I really believe that's the most healing thing you can do for an unsolvable problem is to be able to laugh. So the way this came to be is in 2012, I was diagnosed with literally 21 different food allergies and sensitivities. And I was basically put like on an all lettuce diet. Actually, I think I was allergic to lettuce. It was like an all cabbage diet. So out of that phenomenal experience came One Grain More. And this is One Grain More.
One grain more, A dash of millet flour might be the key. This never-ending road to gluten-free. This horrifying food I eat will never taste the same as wheat. 1 grain more.
A cup of cornflake crumbs to meet my carbohydrate quota.
1 grain more.
A teaspoon of some xanthan gum, and still it tastes like baking soda.
1 more dairy substitute.
Will I ever eat again?
Drinking oat milk from a carton.
What I'd give for pizza pie.
Now I spend my days confused.
Or a slice of beef on rye.
Wondering how you milk an oat.
It's so good to see you, quinoa. You're the protein source I chose. Still you look as if I've seen ya coming out of someone's nose.
Flax instead of eggs, try to make it whip. Now what do we use instead of chocolate chips? Carob doesn't work, carob is a trap. Anyone who's had it knows it tastes like crap.
When the hell is this stuff dated?
Burned and burned today and now.
Why does it smell like something done?
What on earth is lecithin?
Love, I'm finally defecated.
This does not feel like a bun.
Do you hear the people sneeze and cough and wheeze from allergies?
1 grain more.
So I added wheat, I'm sorry.
Have you ever melted
Nothing says it's time to party like anaphylactic shock.
Try a little nut, smooth it silk. Even though it's made of neither eggs nor milk.
Still it looks as if I've seen
Tomorrow we will bitch and moan. Tomorrow we'll need cortisone.
Tomorrow we'll discover foods that even vegans have forsworn. Wish me luck, mother. 1 grain
Did someone order a pizza?
And now for something completely different. So I was designing this, I was just like, what is the weirdest transition I could possibly have? This third video is a live performance of a song I wrote called Enough Words. When I was a sophomore at NYU, I took a comparative mysticism course, which introduced me to the incredible poetry of Rumi, a 13th century Sufi mystic who wrote a poem called Enough Words. It's an incredible poem. I really can't recommend it enough. And it has one quote in particular. I actually have part of it on a canvas back there. The quote is, "Only full overhead sun diminishes your shadow, but that shadow has been serving you. What hurts you blesses you. Darkness is your candle. Your boundaries are your quest." So I wrote a song based on that poem as my final exam because that is something they let you do at NYU. This is Enough Words.
All the rivers can't control you. Fallen memories can't arise. these words enough to hold you? All this pain you feel, does it make you real? Does it make you feel alive? Still your mind won't cease to dream. How could water leave the stream? But there's heart enough to guide you, and there's faith enough to grow. Are you drowned with feeling? Have you found the meaning? Will you make it through? Are these words enough for you? Hard when all your fears define you, seeking shadows in the light. Try to leave this world behind you. Evermore you run from the distant sun in the candle of your night. Let what hurts you make you strong. Always blessed. Journey on and let your boundaries be your For there's love enough to keep you, and there's hope enough for dawn, and there's time to climb horizons, and there's faith to carry on. There's pain enough to teach you, and there's joy enough to know. There's an end to the grieving, and you start by believing that you'll make it through. Your whole life is waiting for you.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
I think I have to echo that. Wow, Michael. Have you ever thought about doing a whole album of setting Rumi to music?
I think I have to reread the book, but that is far from a bad idea. That is, I mean, he's incredible. Are you familiar with his other work?
A little bit. Not as much as I would like to be, and not from the age that you found him. But
I was very lucky in this class to be introduced to him.
Yeah, no, it's just awesome. We've got two more videos that we're going to watch tonight, and one of them strikes a little resonance for those who have watched our Solo Arts Heal before, since ANCAN became involved. because yet again, we're visiting the MRI machine. But we're not visiting it in the form of a comedy stand-up routine. We're not visiting it in the form of a story. We're visiting it in the form of the premiere of a video and a song that you wrote. So why not just introduce the next two, and then we'll talk some more after that. We'll have a little more time.
Sure. So yeah, these next two songs are from the show I'm currently writing, Senses. Senses is a show built around the concept of neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to rewire itself under various circumstances. The first song is called I Remember Music, and it's sung by a Marine vet who served in Afghanistan, and he saved a lot of his troops by protecting them from a grenade. But in the process, he lost his auditory nerves. He used to be a violinist prior to enlisting, and after a surgical procedure, this is his first time hearing again in 10 years. This is I Remember Music.
He jumped on a grenade to save some people and lost not only his hearing, but his auditory nerves, his capacity to hear. And in this song, he's just hearing again for the first time in 10 years. This is I Remember Music from Senses. I hear it. A tone, a bell tone. I remember lyrics rhyming and churches chiming and laughter born from tears. I remember people swaying as I was playing. The song went on for years. I remember finding out my gift in life and knowing it was mine. And I remember music. I remember Boeing choices and women's voices and dancing through the night. I remember Guns N' Roses, the sound explosive and the electric slide. I remember never once imagining that all of it could die. And I remember Papa sighing and Mama crying when I went off to war. I remember towers falling and honor calling, and then the final roar. In service to my country, in service to my friends, in service to an Armageddon that I was born to end. And if I knew I'd lose my life, I'd do it all again. But life without music is empty. Life without music is pain. Life without music's a bridge made of anger, a silent and hopeless refrain. I can hear her cry as the gunshots fly, and I remember.
And this last video, this is the one Rick was talking about. I'm very excited for this because you are the very first people to see and hear this. This song is called Came Back Negative, and as Rick said, it takes place inside an MRI machine, using only the noises of the MRI machine as instruments. I do want to say these are very jarring noises. Some of you may have heard them and in not very good context, so if you want to step away for the next few minutes, please feel free to do that. So the origin story of this song is, I've spent over 48 hours of my life inside MRI machines, and the way I deal with the anxiety and the claustrophobia, frankly, is to take these horrible loud noises that I hear and to try to turn them into a song in my head. And usually it doesn't work. Usually the noises are like in 15, 19 time, it makes no sense. But there was this one particular time where it was just this haunting, ethereal waltz. And I wrote this song inside that machine, listening to that waltz. And I got out, I wrote it all down. I found the noises online that the machine made. And I thought, this is either the most creative thing I have ever done or the stupidest thing I've ever done. It is nowhere in between. It's one or the other. And I will let you decide. This is Came Back Negative, premiere from Senses.
Take a deep breath, it'll all be okay. You were flying close to me, then fell. I'm scared now to learn what I've known all along, or worse, that they might find nothing wrong. Went to the doctors who tested my brain, and it came back negative. Oh well, and isn't it strange that whatever you find is all in my head, all in my mind? Hid me away in my room, in my cell, and I came back negative from hell. And try as I may now to find my way home, I know that I'm there, ever alone. Don't be surprised if you push me away and I come back negative. Farewell, oh God, if you do not despise what you see, lead me to you and back to me.
Here I am, I'm back. You got worried. You thought you were going to have to do the rest of your show on your own there, right?
I mean, I just would have ran away. It's fine.
Yes, I think most of us watching have been inside one of those machines, and we spend a lot of time in the various ANCAN support groups trying to create strategies for what people can do when they disappear down the tube. 48 hours.
Yep, I highly recommend it. Totally better than watching Game of Thrones, absolutely.
So let me ask you, what other creative distractions have come about whilst you've been in an MRI? Was this the first? Was this the first one?
Well, you know, I mean, because most of the time it's just chaos and it changes so often. This test was it was actually an MRA. It was an MR angiogram, a type of MRI, which is, I think, why it was different that time. But it did help inspire. You know, I'd love to do stand-up comedy. It's always been a dream of mine. The trouble is I can't stand up. I mean, I can, but I can't do like, I can't wait at the club for hours and do that. I just physically can't stay up for that amount of time. So I want to do an entire one-man show just all about my journeys in the healthcare industry called Came Back Negative.
Wow.
So, I'll shoot.
I just want to remind all of our audience out there that if you have a question for Michael, please put it in the Q&A window and we'll pass it along and we'll try and get it answered in the next 20 minutes or so. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about having an invisible disability. And we sort of touched on this a little bit when you showed us the video of your braces. But first of all, for somebody who chose the career that you've chosen, to be a song and dance person, basically, EDS must get in the way, to say the very least. I mean, how have you balanced living with EDS and following your dream?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the latter part of that question, my first and foremost, I was always an actor. That's, when I was 11, I stepped on stage for the first time, and the way I describe it, it's the first time in my life that I didn't have stage fright. And I got into writing mainly as sort of like, well, maybe make this back door to myself where I'll write something, and then if it gets produced, I'll be able to cast myself in it. And for a while, that worked really well. And then the last show, like the last full, like multiple shows a day and so many a week was Rent back in 2010. I played Mark Cohen. And I knew, and it broke my heart, but I knew even back then, and this was before I was diagnosed, but I've had symptoms since I was 16. I knew that was going to be my last major show as a performer. And it was a heartbreaking realization, because that's my greatest love is bringing characters to life and telling stories. But it did force me to really throw myself fully into my writing in a way that I wasn't able to do before. But then in 2014, I tore the TFCC cartilage in both of my wrists, and that's when I started needing those wrist braces. I stopped being able to, there was a year and a half where I couldn't play piano. So actually the song I played, I Remember Music from Senses, I very much built it into this other character, but ultimately the way I was able to bring truth to it, I hope, was to tell it as my own story and then change some of the details. And you notice actually, if you look at the performance at the end, as an actor, I'm not noticing my ears and that I can hear, I'm looking at my hands. Because I'm getting a little emotional even talking about this. It was literally a couple weeks before that I played piano again for the first time.
Oh, wow.
But it's a tough balance, because on the one hand, this experience and this illness has given me a profound purpose in life and things to write about that I don't think anybody else is really writing about, at least for musical theater. On the other hand, I can't work the way that I used to. I can no longer spend 17 hours a day, which used to really literally be my average, of just perfectionism, just do it until it ends. Because I can do that now, but the result is, Paperweight, the first video I played, took me 11 months to make. So it's been a challenge. It's a challenge, and ultimately, something I'm really hoping for is potentially funding from medical organizations to make this type of material and to do this very different type of advocacy.
Yeah, it certainly is a different type of advocacy. Somebody asks how you record your experiences. In other words, you have these ideas, there you are in the MRI, the thoughts are going through your head. Do you journal? And what sort of role do support groups have for you, and writing groups? Do they help you bring these experiences out flush them out so that you can make a performance piece out of them?
So in terms of, to separate sort of the songwriting from the playwriting aspect, in terms of songwriting, the process to me, the creative aspect of making a song is almost instantaneous. I hear a song, I hear the exact instrumentation. What takes me forever is figuring out what the hell I'm hearing and getting it onto paper and then playing it all on my keyboard and saying, okay, keyboard, you're a violin now. Enjoy your identity crisis. And in terms of the playwriting, where I'm really more fleshing out, often my story, I do write a lot of autobiography. I do keep a journal, which is very helpful, both in documenting my thoughts, in organizing my thoughts, and in ultimately being able to have them to go back to. Like, that period of my life is kind of like this character. Let me read that. And, that's very helpful. And support groups. As an attendee and a facilitator of support groups, I lead support groups for ADS, and there was a support group in Manhattan, Friends Indeed, which is the support group in the musical Rent, actually, that if I have any grace in dealing with my struggles at all, it's really very much because of them and Cy O'Neill, who ran that place and who still does the big groups. That really, it helped me externalize. It helped take me outside of myself. It helped me to see firsthand that I'm not alone, that there are so many other people who are going through what I'm going through and who are going through things that are entirely different. But ultimately, the things I think that we experience when we have a serious illness, the loss of identity, the fear of the unknown, the pain, these are things that are common to all of us. And it's helped me to bring other people's experiences into my work as well.
I feel sure, based on the responses that we hear in some of our support groups, especially in sarcoidosis and in the multiple sclerosis groups, that that living with an invisible disability is very affronting, because people don't take you as seriously as if you were in the wheelchair, as you referred to before. How can you use the work that you do to enlighten people that living in 24/7 pain can be as bad, if not more, than somebody who's appears physically disabled?
Yeah, it is difficult. I think we definitely tend to believe our own eyes. And we see, I'm sure people looking at me, my friends and family watch me go through this, know what I'm experiencing right now, just in terms of staying upright in this chair and maintaining my level of energy. And but for those of you who don't know me, I wouldn't blame you if the thought goes through your head like, you look fine, like, what are you talking about? And that is tough. Something I had done that was both profoundly validating and profoundly terrifying was I did biofeedback back in 2017. And biofeedback is a way to literally quantify pain. They put all these electrodes on you. And it's also a way for you to test different strategies to bring the pain down and see how it's working. And I was hooked up to this by the technician. And, we were just joking around, and she hooks me up and her whole demeanor changed. And, I'm an actor, so I noticed that, but I don't ask about it. We work for a while on trying to bring it down, and she won't make eye contact with me. And I realized what was going on. And I asked her, because I it said like 200 or something. I don't know what the units of measurement are. I don't know what it means. And I asked her, where do you typically see these types of numbers? And she looked at me really sadly and said, shotgun victim. And that's what I went and did a show that night. That's every day for me. And it's a lot easier, I think, for people to grasp when I'm wearing the braces and when I'm doing all that. But then I have to make a decision in my life of like, as well-intentioned as I think most people are, like, I don't necessarily want to spend my whole life answering, oh, what happened? Did you hurt yourself? And So invisible disability, I think all different types of disabilities come with their own unique brand of difficulties, but the struggle to be taken seriously when you talk about your illness is really hard, and that goes double for mental health issues.
So you've spoken a little bit about the purpose of your work, but what is your dream for your work to accomplish? What do you want this body of work to accomplish that you're doing?
So when I was 14, which was 2 years before I became symptomatic, I was introduced to the musical Rent.
Right.
And it was an incredible experience for me at the time, but what I didn't know was that it was giving me the tools and the company to be able to cope with physical disease when I encountered it. And what I want to do, for those of you who don't know, Jonathan Larson, who wrote Rent, I don't have that many things up, but I always have Jonathan's picture. He passed away tragically the night before Rent opened off-Broadway, of actually the cousin disease to mine, Marfan disease, which is also a connective tissue disorder. And he didn't know he had it.
25 years ago, right?
Yeah, they just had the anniversary concert. It's hard to believe. He used musical theater as a way to not just present, but to move forward the conversation around AIDS and HIV, and around so many other social issues as well. And it's why I was able to deal with the problems that came my way as best I could, and it's Rent that got me to Friends Indeed, which is now, I saw somebody had asked, it's now called just The Big Groups. And I think they have a Facebook page. But I want to do for other people what Jonathan Larson did for me. I want to speak to and for them. I want to help make this taboo subject that death and illness are in our culture. I want to make them less taboo, and tell the stories of people who, I find almost without exception that the people whom society determines to be the weakest are inevitably the strongest. And just being around those people, just hearing their stories is a profound experience for me, and I want to give that to other people.
And you have a philosophy, I know I've read in your background, that you call, and I'm maybe going to say it a little differently, live
because. Yeah. So like
I feel there needs to be a break between the live and the because.
I'll think about that. It definitely, if you just say it to people, be like, what? Anyway. Yeah, I mean, so as with everything else, this whole conversation, I'm going to throw it back to Rent, which what Rent taught me was this idea of what I call live despite. This no day but today philosophy, forget regret, or life is yours to miss. How do I live the best life I can despite my problems? What I'm interested in is, how can I live the best life I can because of my problems? How can I use them in some way to heal myself, to heal others, and not, it's the difference, I think, between the idea that I think can actually be kind of toxic, which is there's a reason for everything. For some people that philosophy works well, and God bless them, but for some people it's like, I'm suffering a lot and I don't see any reason that this is happening. I believe we can make a reason. I believe that we can sit down and say, there is no reason that this is happening to me, but I am going to turn it into something transformative and important, whether that is just one of the people, such as yourself and the people who lead support groups with ANCAN, the people who are writing books and giving TED Talks and writing shows. What I'm trying to do is take what has happened to me and make it so that one day I can look back and say, I made meaning out of that. I made meaning out of the meaningless.
Yeah, it's the old concept of taking lemons and making lemonade, I think. I know that the the driving force for me when I started doing the work I do, it was before ANCAN, but we hadn't conceived of ANCAN, was that I felt very strongly that we could make the path smoother for the people that were traveling it after we came. And one of the essences of ANCAN is that we're always peer-led. Because peers understand the journey way better than facilitators or moderators who are coming to this from the outside, as well as they think they might understand it. They don't get it. You know, you get it for EDS. I get it. In my case, it's prostate cancer. But what we try to do with our moderators is train them in whatever their own disease is to share and make that path easier. We so hope you're going to come start an EDS group with us. There you go. It's a public pitch.
I'm looking forward to checking out the ones that you have. I think it's such a phenomenal platform that you offer, especially now when, you know, we all can't really go and have that osmotic experience in person.
Yeah. Well, listen, Michael, this has been an absolute pleasure and a privilege for me to talk to you, and I've so enjoyed your videos. Are there any links that we need to share with anybody, or we should put in afterwards so people can find you later?
Sure, thank you. So my website is michaelbihovsky.com. You can also, I post a lot of stuff to my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Michael Bihovsky official. The most helpful thing I have with you know, been trying to market Paperweight, you know, after 11 months of birthing this thing. It's been a little bit of a challenge in that we're doing it's been received wonderfully by film festivals, and it's really nice to receive those accolades, but ultimately I just want people to see it. And it is hard getting material out there on the internet because there's so much material for everybody to watch. And if you like Paperweight, especially if you felt like sharing that with anyone who might take meaning and solace from it, that would mean the world to me.
Would it be okay to share Paperweight along with One Grain More?
Would it be okay? No, anybody does that. Yeah, so I mean, you can, if you want, you can spend the rest of your lives talking about me and just posting about me. Somebody's going to stop your Facebook account at some point, but I'm not going to stop you. Whatever you enjoy, please. And there's so much more on my YouTube channel, a lot of comedy, a lot of these sort of more pop singles, and primarily all this musical theater stuff.
Fantastic. Well, as always, big thank you to the Marsh for providing us this platform to speak to people who live through their disabilities and make the world a better place as a result of the conditions that they live with. It is so important. We are so grateful. Again, any of you out there who would like to perform or do perform and would like to do a show with us, please let us know. We are very open. And don't forget the tip jar, the Marsh tip jar. And just a quick word on next month, we have, again, something very unusual. We're going to be talking to Shelley Hoffer, who recently produced her first show off-Broadway in New York called High Risk Baby, about the issues around fertility. So please join us the 4th Wednesday of August, whatever that might be. I'll turn it back to Brianna. Maybe she knows. Do you know what the 4th Wednesday of August is, Brianna?
The 4th Wednesday of August is
25th.
Okay,
we'll see you then.